today I'm going to teach you how to do Katie's version of turned applique. And for this, you're going to need a light, easy steam. I like to use the Pellon. Out of all the easy steam I have ever used, this one is by far my favorite, and it's the light, easy steam. So what you're first going to want to do is cut out your background shape. I'm doing 6.5 inches here because I have a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all sides for when I want to sew it into something. Although honestly, once I finish this, I'm probably just going to fold over my sides, iron them down, and then frame it and put it on a wall, because I don't imagine putting this in a quilt, at least not right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start by drawing out the design I want. And this is a scrap piece of easy steam. And I'm just going to go ahead and start designing how I would like my design to be. Once you have your design drawn out, go ahead and label it. I like to label it with the color of fabric I'm going to use. So this is going to be green. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take regular scissors, not your fabric scissors, just something that can cut through paper, and you're going to cut out your pattern. Pro tip, save the rest of this easy steam. You could always use it in the future for smaller bits. Now what you're going to do is turn your fabric to the wrong side facing up, and then you're going to just press your pattern onto your fabric. Make sure you leave a seam allowance of a 1/4 inch or about a 1/4 inch all the way around. So do not press this up to the edge. You want to make sure you have a seam allowance going all the way around your design. Once you have that down, take a cloth, cover it up, and then you're going to iron it to fuse everything together. You definitely want this cloth, otherwise you're most likely going to gunk up your iron or your ironing board, and it's a pain in the butt to try to get that gunk off. There are ways, but let's just avoid it as much as possible. So go ahead and do that with your other shapes. Now that I have my pieces ironed out, I'm going to take my K Buckley scissors. These are the best little tiny scissors I have come across. I actually have mine labeled so that my mom doesn't steal mine, even though she has her own. But go ahead and cut a seam allowance of about a 1/4 inch all the way around. And it doesn't have to be exact 1/4 inch. If anything, you want to be a little bit on the inside of a 1/4 inch. Now that you have your pieces cut out, you're going to go ahead and anytime you see a curve, you're going to clip in. Don't clip all the way to the paper. Clip just a little bit in. Now that you have your pieces clipped, what you're going to do is you're going to finger press over your edges. And when you have something that's kind of a point like this, right on the point finger edge, and then you can do on either side of it. Finger press. Now that everything is relatively finger pressed over, the great thing about using the easy steam is it keeps the shape that you want while you're finger pressing, but also you can start peeling up from a corner, and then you can just press over your seam allowance and it will stick and hold that shape that you want. Once you got it all finger pressed over, I like to stick my piece back on, especially if you're having multiple pieces. This way it keeps the label on. And there we go. Now you can do that with the rest. Another thing I want to point out is when you have a shape like this, where you have these points, it's really easy and probably most preferable to cut about 1/8 of an inch away from the point on either end to reduce your bulk when you fold over. Because with these points, you do fold over and then you fold over again and again on either side to lock in that point. So you're just trying to get rid of the bulk. And then again, you're gonna go ahead and clip for your curves. Once you have your pieces folded over, you can then place them on your background and put them exactly where you want them. Once you have them where you want them, you can go ahead, peel off the paper that we had stuck back on and stick it on. And the great thing about the Easy Steam is it doesn't come off. It doesn't slide around on you. Once you have them stuck on to where you want them, take your cloth, place it over top and iron them down. And when you iron them down this time, don't move your iron around, just place, press, and then lift up, place, press, lift up. Now on to stitching. There are two ways you can stitch this down. You can use your machine and stitch around the edge ever so gently. I recommend if you do this, make sure you have your needle down. So every time you stop, your needle stays down in your fabric. It'll make it so much easier. Or you can hand stitch it. To hand stitch, you have your piece of thread. I have it knotted at one end. And then I'm gonna use, these are called self-threading needles. I love these. They have this weird little prong at the top. And instead of trying to stick the end of your thread through the needle eye, you just pop your thread right down and it goes in and it stays relatively well. So to hand stitch, you're gonna start from the back. You're gonna come up through just your backing fabric. Come up, pull it through all the way till you hit the knot. And then you're gonna go down right next to the string that you just came up. And then you're gonna dive down, move over like 1/8 of an inch or so, come back up. And as you come back up, grab the side of your applique, just a tiniest little bit. Oops, I got stuck on a pin here. There we go. And I got stuck on my other applique. There we go. And then you do it again. So you go down right next to where you just came up. You go down, you dive under for a little bit, and you surface back up, grab a little of that applique. Try not to sew your finger. I just about sewed my finger on. I am not a hand stitcher, by the way. I would much rather machine stitch this, but this stitch is really quite easy. So we'll see. Maybe I will just hand stitch the rest of it, or I might just instant gratification and use my machine. But the great thing about using the Easy Steam for this technique is see how it's holding everything in place exactly where I want it. And yet, because we folded over for those seams, it has that little bit puckered up so that you can still get under and stitch it down and hide your stitches. So I am going to finish stitching this. All right, and there we have it. Here is my finished block. I went ahead and hand stitched all the way around everything, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Happy sewing!